All right, YouTube. Trump has nominated his Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch, who is further to the right than Scalia was, actually, on some issues. On some, he's given some signals that he might not be so far right, which I think is good. Overall, yeah, this is an acceptable individual. He's replacing one of the most conservative individuals on the Supreme Court, so I don't have a big problem with it being another extreme so-called conservative. The only things that he would be, in my opinion, really extreme on as far as being outside of, maybe the centrist population be guns. He doesn't seem to think that any gun control is needed. I happen to agree with him on that, so I mean, I'm perfectly comfy with the idea of the Supreme Court being rebuilt to strip back all gun control. I think that is important. I wouldn't even care if there were an additional constitutional amendment expanding the Second Amendment. I think it'd be a good thing for this country. It'd keep us freer longer, keep government more accountable for longer too, and it would take that dying issue off the table. But Trump is doing something else, a very wise move that even got like the salons talking briefly yesterday before this stuff hit the news cycle. And that's that he's keeping the Obama-era policy in place so that the government will not discriminate against gay and lesbian workers and so forth. Very good move. Put the last nail in the coffin of an issue where the Republican Party held out for decades, consistently lost, shot itself in the foot, so for pragmatic purposes. Secondly, because Trump does not care if you're gay. I said this during the election early and often. A lot of people thought he was some homophobic warrior or something. That was never true. The left was wrong. Some of his fans that are like white nationalists were also wrong. They were hoping, I guess, that he would start sterilizing homosexuals or something, which was never going to occur, let's face it. It's just like immigration. He's not going to go nearly as far right as some of his own fans wish he would on immigration. At the end of the day, most of them will forget about the issue and won't care anymore. They won't care. As long as the wall gets built, they'll forgive him for not deporting 10 million people. Trust me, just watch. Watch the next couple of years, you'll see what I mean. Trump is doing well, and his approval is probably going to start rising at some point in the near future. The media tried to stop him already with the tactics it's using now. It never worked during the primaries. It never worked during the elections. Why would I think it was going to start working now? He appoints someone to the Supreme Court, who the left will naturally identify as the ultimate enemy of abortion or something like that. The thing is, the Supreme Court is stacked with 6 justices that would be generally in favor of Roe v. Wade. So it doesn't matter. This person is just a replacement for Scalia, who was already against the concept of abortion. It doesn't rebalance the court, it just maintains it at what it was at before Scalia died. So it's not a big problem. Now, if Ginsburg keels over and Trump puts Rick Santorum on the Supreme Court, yeah, that might be a problem, but I don't think he's going to do that. I think he goes far right for the replacement for Scalia. By the time the next justice keels over, my good money's on Ginsburg being the next, probably Breyer at some point, who's sort of a little less left than Ginsburg. Some of these people are older than others. Clarence Thomas, of course, could stroke out at any time, too. Anytime he replaces a right-wing justice, he'll put a right-wing person on the court, because it'd be suicidal not to. But if a left-wing justice keels over, he's probably going to put someone who's just center-right into the court. He'll rebalance the court, but I don't think he wants to overstretch. He doesn't want to overreach too much because it would alienate a lot of centrists in the country. It would look like he was up to something dirty. I think he knows better than this. I don't think he cares, Trump that is, he doesn't care about abortion. He doesn't care about gay marriage. He is pro-gun, which is a good thing. In fact, his sort of civic views are far more aligned with someone like myself than they would be with an evangelical within the Republican Party, a Santorum or a Ted Cruz or something. Of course, Ted Cruz was rumored to be a possible contender for the Supreme Court. I would have opposed that. I don't think that'd be a good idea. Having a Canadian on the Supreme Court sounds a little bit odd to me. Especially someone as obsessed as he is with butter statues and stuff. Oh, the first sentence my daughter ever said was, "I like butter." My God, how cringeworthy can you be? It's a good thing the Supreme Court justices typically don't weigh in that much. They don't give a lot of interviews and stuff. Because at least if we put Ted Cruz on the Supreme Court, we won't have to hear him say anything cringy again for a while. The delegates Donald or something like that. It's just crazy. So I'm I'm comfy with this nominee. I'd be comfortable with it. Um, on the gun rights issue, I would say mostly. On abortion, it doesn't really matter. Scalia never reached out to try to destroy it or anything. It's not like all the Supreme Court justices the conservative justices got together one day when Scalia was still alive and said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna fuck Roe v. Wade over. We're gonna revisit. We're gonna have some random plaintiff come forth, bring it to us ASAP, and we're gonna overturn it or something like that." This doesn't rebalance the court. People who think, "Oh, we're one step away from no abortion in the United States." Trump is a business magnate from New York City who donated for most of his life to Democratic causes. He is not coming for Roe v. Wade. You can wait for 1,000 years and it'll never happen. Why don't you wait till the end of his first term and likely second term begins at that point? Trust me. Why don't you wait for that and see if your abortions have been endangered? You may see some action by states to go after them. That's been happening, honestly, anyway. Texas, Alabama, I think it was, tried for a while there. Some of these other states, Kansas, certainly. They have like a perennial sort of celebration where they talk about how bad abortion is in an idiot state like Kansas. No offense to any viewers from Kansas, but aren't you the ones with Ken Ham's Noah's Ark over there and shit that had to publicly fund a religious theme park? Yeah, there's a few screws loose in Kansas state government, just as many screws loose as there are in ours here in Vermont for different reasons. Having Gorsuch on the Supreme Court is a good thing. It would have been terrible if Trump hadn't put someone who was rabidly pro-gun on the Supreme Court. Then we'd have an anti-gun, fundamentally Supreme Court. You have all of these other idiots there who think that the job of the Supreme Court is to weigh in based on modern morality. That's not the point of the Constitution. It doesn't really require that much in the way of interpretation. So I'm comfortable with this particular nominee, despite the fact that I'm not religious. I don't give a fuck. The religious liberty thing, like Hobby Lobby, he said he thought that the Supreme Court should have ruled the other way on Hobby Lobby. On that one, it's a little bit more of an ambivalent topic for me, though, despite the fact that it deals with religion and contraception and so forth. Because on the one hand, do I have a problem with abortion and contraception? No. I support them fully. At the same time, though, I'm not a fan of government-mandated health care. So for that particular reason, it would have thrown a wrench, I guess, in Obama's plans, and it would have been helpful if they had. So, I mean, either or, it didn't really matter at the time. It was a whack-ass case anyway. I mean, fucking Hobby Lobby. It's run by a bunch of zealots anyway. I don't shop there. No, I'm not going to patronize their business regardless of their policy on contraception, so I'm not really that worried about it. And people should leave each other alone a little bit more. It'd be a better world. So there you go. Now we're getting another quite far right Supreme Court justice. He will be almost certainly confirmed. But does it change the balance of the Supreme Court? No, it actually makes it just a little bit more pro-gun. I think his other thing was weighing in on euthanasia and assisted suicide. Now, I disagree with him on suicide. I think assisted suicide should be legal. If someone has some very painful, chronic, incurable condition, yeah, let them kill themselves with some dignity. Euthanasia, though, I'd agree with him on. I don't believe in euthanasia. No other person other than the self, mentally aware and capable of making such a decision, should be able to decide whether a person lives or dies. That extends to the death penalty. I oppose the death penalty for that same reason. The individual is the only person who should be fundamentally able to choose that. It violates the non-aggression principle otherwise. If they want to kill themselves, it's fine. If they want to die and then they have someone help them die, that's fine. But for somebody else to say, oh, well, they're chronically ill, they're in pain, and in a coma, so we're going to pull the plug, it sort of brings up memories of the Shivo case there years and years ago. A lot of you probably don't remember that. That's a huge issue in the United States. All anybody talked about for weeks. Oh, she's brain dead, but the family says she can sometimes, kind of move and stuff. So, is it murder if we take her off life support? And the family's like, oh. Some are like, oh, we want her to live. Others are like, well, she's suffering and she's a vegetable, so fucking kill her. And the medical establishment got involved, and the government got involved. It was a shit show. The next time, there are occasional times where you get something that's just big news, and it just lasts and lasts and festers and becomes chronic. It's like the O.J. Simpson case, before that, or 9/11. Something, it's in the news constantly, months and months and months. That's all anyone talks about. It seems like it's all engulfing or something. Right now, by the way, it's Trump's existence. That's exactly what it is. A few months from now, things will have calmed down some. His approval will begin to rise significantly. Now, until then, of course, the media will keep attacking him. Until they run out of slush fund money from the Clinton Foundation, then they'll stop doing that. And then they will normalize him, by the way. That's why he'll win re-election, almost certainly. And people realize, no, he hasn't criminalized homosexuality, he's done nothing to stop abortion, and he probably hasn't started any wars. People are going to be a little bit more receptive to his message. That's about all. Peace out.